Alright, so now it's time for section 3-7. This is equations of lines in the coordinate plane. So from algebra, we learned last year how to graph a line, write an equation, and find a slope, and we can use given points to do all of this. So slope is a ratio of vertical change to horizontal change between 2 points. So when we talk about slope, we talk about the vertical as being the rise in our line, and we talk about the horizontal as being the run in our line. So when we talk about rise, we're talking about the y parts of our coordinate. And when we're talking about the run, we're talking about the x values for our coordinates. So slope is denoted by this letter here, m. So we'll see that in some equations that we work with a little bit later on. So let's say we have a line here, and we know that there are 2 different points on this line, and they are the coordinates x1, comma, y1, and x2, comma, y2. So the rise is going to be the difference between our y values. So we talked about rise over run. So our rise in this case is going to be y2 minus y1, and our run is going to be our x values. So it's going to be x2 minus x1. So unlike with distance formula, in this case it does matter which one is y1 and which one's y2 and which is x1 and which is x2. We want to make sure that we read our graph left to right. So our point that's on the left-hand side, the furthest left, is going to be our x1 and our y1. The one that's on the right is going to be our x2 and our y2. And so then we want to write it out as y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, because we're figuring out what changed as we went up and what changed as we went over. So let's look at an example. Line B passes through the points -1, 2 and 4, -2, and we want to find the slope of the line. So what we want to do is, again, slope is represented by the letter m. And if we remember, we had m equals slope equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So the points that we're given are -1, 2 and 4, -2. So this is going to be my x1, this is going to be my y1, this is going to be my x2, and this is going to be my y2. I always use this strategy of labeling my x1 and y1 and x2 and y2, so that way it's a lot easier for me to then plug them into my equation here. I don't have to think too hard and work too hard to keep track of the numbers. So m equals y2 is going to be -2 minus y1, which is going to be +2 here. And divided by x2 is 4 minus x1 is -1. And I like to put that in parentheses so that I don't lose track of that negative sign there. So now I'm just going to go ahead and simplify. -2 minus 2, that's going to give me a -4. And then 4 minus -1, remember we can just treat that the same as 4 plus 1. So 4 plus 1 is going to give me 5. So then my slope is going to end up being -4/5. That's my slope. So now you get to try it. We have line A passes through the points 2, 3 and 5, 7, and we want to find the slope of line A. So go ahead and pause the video and figure that out on your own. Now that you've had a chance to work on that on your own, we're going to take a look at it together. So I always like to start out by writing out the equation m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It just really helps me visualize what it is that I'm looking for here. So then the points that I'm given are 2, 3 and 5, 7. And again, I like to label those so I know what I'm working with. So this is going to be my x1 and my y1, and this is going to be my x2 and my y2. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug them into my equation. So m equals y2, which is 7, minus y1, which is 3, over x2, 5, minus x1, which is 2. Now I'm just going to go ahead and simplify. So I have 7 minus 3 gives me 4, and 5 minus 2 gives me 3. So then my final answer is my slope is 4 over 3. So there are two different forms of equations that we can use to describe a line in the coordinate plane. The first one is called slope-intercept form, and the reason is that the information that we can get from this equation is the slope and the intercept. So if we remember from the start, m is our slope. M is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's our m. And then our b is going to be the y-intercept. So this is the point where our graph crosses the y-axis. And if we were to look at that point on the graph, it would be the point 0, b. So let's take a look at an example of how we would write an equation in slope-intercept form. So here we're given that line L has the slope 3 and its y-intercept is at the point 0, 2. So I'm going to go through and label the information that I'm given here. So my slope is 3, so this is m. And the y-intercept is at the point 0, 2. And if you remember, the y-intercept is in the form 0, b. My y-intercept that I'm looking for in the equation is b. So that means b is going to be 2. This is b. So then when I write out my equation, it's going to look like this. It'll be of the form y equals mx plus b. So then when I put in the information that I've gotten from the description here, I'm going to have the equation y equals 3x plus 2. And that's just because I got the 3 from here. They told me my slope is 3 and slope is m, so I put the 3 here. The y-intercept, which is called b, is 0, 2, and remember that second number is our b. That second number is what we're looking for, so plus 2. So I end up with the equation y equals 3x plus 2. The next form of an equation that we can use is called point-slope form, and that's because the information that we get from this equation is one point that lies on the line and the slope of that line. So let's go ahead and take a look at what information we have in here. So m, again, this is our slope. This is the y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. That's how we find the slope there. And then these guys, y1 and x1, these are a point on the graph or a point on the line. And it would be of the form x1, y1. So now let's try to write a line or an equation for line M in the point-slope form. So we're told that line M has a slope of 6 and it passes through the point 4, 2. So remember, the point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I'm going to go ahead and go through and label my information. So it tells me that I have a slope of 6. So 6 is my m here. And then it passes through the point 4, 2. So x1, x2. So I'm going to go ahead and label those. Sorry, I misspoke. x1, y1. I'm going to go ahead and label those. This is x1 and this is y1. So then when I write my equation, I have y minus, y1 is 2, so minus 2, equals m, my 6 is my slope, 6 is m, so equals 6, and then times x minus, and then my x1 is 4, just like I labeled it here, so minus 4. So I end up with the final equation, y minus 2 equals 6 times the quantity x minus 4.